Hey guys, how's it going? This is TJ over at Clifford Studios. Welcome to my channel. For my first piece, I wanted to stick around with geometric shapes, as you can probably tell by the image that you're looking at right now. I really wanted to focus on my shading, color accuracy, and the overall design and textures of this piece. Alright, with all that being said, jumping right into it, here are some early sketches that I've been working with. I usually start out with a silhouette base. After studying and listening to many concept artists and speaking with them personally, I've learned that usually this is the best way to go. You can really work out the overall shape that you want, and there's a lot of room for errors and mess-ups that you don't have to worry about when you're working directly in line work, and it also kind of takes the pressure off of drawing straight in with line work. Now, as you can see, I've got my shapes down, I start adding the line work in, and this is where things really start to get interesting, because as you start to work in the design, you can really get as intricate as you want. So at this point I decided to go with option number 1. Now this is a disc grenade design, and throughout concept art pieces when it comes to these types of props, this is sort of a grenade design that I don't see executed very often, so I decided to go with this. Now the way I came up with it was, I don't know how many of you guys actually play this game, but the game is called Overwatch. It's pretty popular by Blizzard Entertainment. But anyways, the character that this was inspired from, his name is Reinhardt. For those that don't know, he's one of their heavier characters, and his main weapon is this large, uniquely shaped hammer. Now going with that is, if you look at the hammer, the way I kind of went about creating the outlines and the shapes of this was based off the front and back end. The front end of his hammer being where he would smash onto the ground, kind of being the bottom shape of this disc grenade, and then on the back of it, it helps him, one of his moves is he thrusts through the map and charges enemies, and at the back what helps him thrust is this three-pronged, basically exhaust system that shoots the fire out and sends him forward. So as you can see from here, I'm working on creating depth within the image itself. I'm trying to work in the different values going from light to dark and trying to really get that color accuracy. Now as you can see on the bottom, I'm really bringing out the depth of that piece while raising the almost the ledges or the pillars that are coming out of the different angles, which is about 6 of them. Now with this, I'm also trying to add on a lot of scratches and imperfections on the metal itself, mainly to show that it is metal and it does have imperfections, kind of show that more gritty, grungy military feel to it. And then from there I went on and I added more of a clean metal, which is, I was going for more of a brushed metal, which is why it's more silver, and later on I'll add the texture onto it from there. With that being said, you could see the 3 circles in the middle that I talked about being Reinhardt's shield, or Reinhardt's hammer. Now going from there, I wanted to make these more sort of, a little more sci-fi and futuristic. The idea behind these now that these are the power sources basically. So the orange that you're seeing in the middle that I'm playing around with here are basically what power this grenade of sorts. Now at this point in the video, you can see that we've gotten to the end of this specific portion of this disc grenade, and going through, this is really how I would set up my concept sheet that I would show to either an art director or a 3D modeler or someone of that sort. From here I would go, as you can see, you have the main kind of like glamour shot of the actual device itself, and from here you can see the textures that I added into it. You have your brushed metal in the center, and towards the sides you can still see that you have that scratched up metal look like it's been used before, or it's been banged around in a bag a little bit, and then that back piece behind it is just kind of a way to really draw attention to it compared to the other things to the right of it. Now on the right of it, speaking of that, you have, from what you saw in the beginning of the video, you have the 3 different grenade ideas here that are thumbnails that were used for brainstorming purposes, and I think it's good to show that in your work, to show that you didn't just draw this and then go with your first idea. It kind of shows that you had a brainstorming session to begin with, and that's really important, I believe. Now to the left of that, you have 3 images here. Now these are just images that I grabbed off of Google, or images that I've had in my library, and basically what it's doing is it's just describing to a modeler what this is supposed to look like once it's actually built for a video game or an animation. Right, you have your brushed metal at the top, you have your matte metal at the bottom, kind of describing what those are going to look like in the real world, and then in the middle you have your power source. And really what this is kind of describing of the orange is, while it's not going to be this green, is that it shows how I want that LED strip to kind of be brought out and shown. Alright, jumping right back into this concept art time lapse here, you can see me start working on this second grenade design I have here. Now this is the second one of 3 that I'll be working on, and in these pieces I really want to go back into how I really got those textures and maybe my process about how it works. So with this, you could see me working on the line work right here. I'm just really outlining it. Now with this grenade, I really wanted to stick more towards a almost like a capsule or a container sort of cylinder. With that, you can see on the top, I'm drawing some vent hole openings, and towards the middle, I'll be working on the more kind of the power source of it again. Now in these early designs, I kind of have these long pillars that are going on, and when we actually get into it, I'm going to be changing these, as you'll see. At this point in the video, I'm really working on the highlights and shadows. As you'll see here in a minute, I'm about to duplicate the layer and flip it. And what that allows me to do is 1, speed up my workflow, and 2, make sure I have the exact lighting coming in from the one end. And as you'll see, I'll do this throughout the piece, and this is the great part about working with geometric shapes, is it allows you to do this a lot more freely and easily. Here I'm working on the shading of the brushed metal again, and you're about to see me start working with the actual power source design again. So I scratched it. I didn't like the idea of having the long pillar power sources, and right here you're seeing me try some new things to try and resemble what I was doing with my last grenade. Now I ultimately decided to go with the 3-prong system again, but more in a line. This way you can differentiate from the 2, but also they resemble each other very well. And at this point you see me finish up the brushed metal, work on the exhaust grating on the top and bottom, and then from here I'm really working on finishing up the detail and overall aesthetics of this grenade design. So I add in some lines, I start adding in the brushed metal, and right here you're going to see something interesting. And not everyone agrees with this, but I know from concept artists in the industry this is usually used pretty widely to speed up your workflow. What you just saw there was me using images to help basically add to the design structure and detail the piece out in a fast manner. Now not everyone agrees with it, however I think it really helps when it comes to speeding up your workflow and just getting to the point of what you want the design to look like. And of course before that I was making sure I was doing the shading and really getting it to how I wanted to work, because if you just throw a picture on something, it's not going to work, right? Like, just because you have the tools, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So not everyone agrees with it, and that's okay. I don't use it all the time. However, it would be silly for me to say I never use it, because it does come in handy a lot of the times. Alright, at this point right here, you're seeing me work on the 3rd and final concept grenade design, and right here I'm finishing up the line work for it. I'm going to be starting to lay down the color to it. Now when I'm laying down the color, I have a couple things to think about. First off, I need to stick within the color scheme. However, I'm also trying to be unique by not making it look too similar. So right here, you're seeing me lay down my color flats and a few designs to really hone in on how I want this grenade to look in the end. From here, I'm working on the shading. I'm going in and I'm kind of doing the exact same shading I did on the second grenade design with that cylinder feel. It's kind of like the easiest way to do it, to be honest. It's simple and effective, and for that reason, that's really the reason why I'm going with it. From there, as you can see on the bottom, there's that little trapezoid piece that I ended up putting a multiply layer on, and what that allows me to do is really add that darker shade and make it really believable that the depth is there, that it's actually slanting in towards the barrel or the midsection of the grenade design. From here, I'm working on the brushed metal again. This is pretty similar to all the other ones that I've done. There's nothing really new here. I'm just kind of going in, adding some highlights and shadows, but I guess the real thing that I can note on for this, for anyone who really wants to learn about depicting metal, one of the things is always have a reference photo, first of all. Having reference photos or pictures really helps you see how light reflects off metal, and metal is one of those things that I probably spend the most time rendering, just because that's usually what's in the design work that I do. And what you really want to do is you really want to spend a lot of time focusing on where the light's coming and where the light's bouncing off, and once you kind of grasp that, you're going to be set. Alright guys, here we are at the end of the video. As you'll see, the final page 2 is coming up, and as for that, this is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button, always helps. And if you'd like to see more of this, hit subscribe. I'm always willing to put out more videos and share my process. If you guys want to see more behind the scenes, you can follow any of my social media accounts that I've posted above. And have a nice day, guys.